starting over feels better than staying. Not because it works, but because it relieves you. And if that sentence hit a nerve, stay with me. Because every time you reset your life, a new goal, a new routine, a new version of yourself, your body reacts before your mind does. Your chest loosens. Your breathing deepens. That constant pressure you've been carrying finally lets go. For a moment, you feel clean again. Untouched, unjudged, like the past doesn't count. And that feeling is addictive. Not in a dramatic way, in a quiet, respectable way. It feels like clarity, like growth, like self-awareness. You tell yourself you're being intentional, that you're recalibrating, that you're realigning. But look closer. Nothing has actually changed yet. No work has been done. No discomfort has been faced. No risk has been taken. And yet, you already feel better. That's not progress. That's relief. Relief from expectations. Relief from pressure. Relief from the version of you who has a track record, unfinished things, half-built dreams, and proof that staying is hard. Starting over doesn't feel good because it moves you forward. It feels good because it lets you escape the moment where growth actually happens. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. Staying doesn't come with relief. Staying comes with weight. When you stay, you don't get a clean slate. You get history. You get context. You get evidence, missed days, slow progress, effort that didn't turn into applause. Staying means you can't pretend anymore. You can't say, I'm just getting started. You can't hide behind potential. You can't blame the setup, the plan, the timing. Staying forces you to sit with who you are inside the process. Not at the exciting beginning. Not at the imagined finish line. But in the middle, where nothing is clear, nothing is polished, and nothing feels impressive. And that middle is brutal on the ego. Because the middle exposes limits. It shows you how slow growth actually is, how repetitive it is, how much patience it requires, how often you'll feel bored, confused, and unsure if this is even working. Starting over avoids all of that. Staying demands you face it. That's why staying feels heavier than starting from zero. Not because it's harder, but because it's honest. Here's the psychological truth most people miss. Starting over isn't a discipline problem. It's a nervous system response. Your body loves resets because resets remove threat. At the beginning, there's no judgment. No pressure to perform. No evidence of failure. Your nervous system relaxes because nothing is at stake yet. The beginning feels safe. But staying? Staying introduces uncertainty. Staying means you might see how average you are before you get good. It means you might discover that progress is slower than you hoped. That talent doesn't carry you as far as you thought. That effort doesn't guarantee results. And for a nervous system wired to avoid disappointment, that feels dangerous. So your mind offers an escape. A better idea. A cleaner plan. A more exciting direction. A version of you that hasn't been tested yet. It feels like intelligence. Like self-improvement. Like you're making a strategic decision. But it's avoidance wearing a very convincing mask. Real progress never lives at the beginning. It lives after the excitement dies. After the motivation fades. After the dopamine rush wears off and all that's left is routine, repetition, and resistance. That's the place most people call stuck. But that place isn't stagnation. It's incubation. It's where skills deepen quietly, where confidence builds without noise, where identity shifts slowly without validation. And it's deeply uncomfortable because nothing dramatic is happening. You're not failing, but you're not winning either. You're just showing up again and again without guarantees. This is where most people leave, not because they can't do the work, but because they can't tolerate how invisible the work feels. Staying here requires something starting over never asks for. The willingness to be unimpressive, to be bad longer than your ego wants, to let progress look boring, to let growth feel quiet. That's the real price of becoming. There's a moment when starting over stops feeling empowering. When you notice the pattern, same excitement, same clarity, same rush, same promise. And then, weeks later, the same urge to reset again. Different goals, same ending. And something inside you tightens. Not because you failed again, but because you finally see what you've been avoiding. You weren't running toward better plans. You were running away from staying. Staying with discomfort. Staying with slowness. Staying with a version of you that isn't shiny anymore. This is where the question changes. You stop asking, what should I start? And start asking, what am I afraid to stay with? And that question doesn't have a tactical answer. It has an emotional one. Fear of being ordinary. Fear of wasting time. Fear of discovering your limits. Fear of staying long enough to remove the excuse of potential. Once you see that, resets lose their power. Staying doesn't feel heroic. It feels quiet, almost disappointing, like choosing the same thing again when no one is watching and nothing exciting happens. But something shifts when you stay. Your nervous system settles. Your identity stabilizes. You stop living in cycles of hope and letdown. You stop chasing the high of beginnings because you start trusting the depth of the middle. And that's where real confidence forms. Not loud confidence. Grounded confidence. The kind that comes from knowing you can sit inside discomfort without running. You don't stop starting new things forever. You stop using new beginnings as anesthesia. You stop resetting to feel better and start staying to become better. And one day, you realize something quietly devastating and freeing at the same time. Starting over felt good because it removed pressure, but staying built something far more valuable. Self-respect. And once you have that, you don't need a reset anymore. You need continuity. And that's when your life finally starts to move, not in bursts, but in a direction.